Hey folks, just wanted to jump in with a bit of a short video this week. I had gotten a call from a friend of mine. He needed 36 pins to give out on Father's Day at church. And so I told him I could do it, no problem. And so what I've done here to get to this point, I have taken the seat part of a church pew. Had a couple of these given to me a while back, and my full intention from the very beginning was to use this wood, this oak, for pins. Um, so I just felt like a church pew being given away at church for Father's Day, that just made sense to me. So I first cut cut one of my two benches into 8-inch sections, and then cut those sections, ripped them down to 3/4 of an inch, and then cut those into my blank sizes, and eventually down to what you see here, two pieces that would fit this pin accordingly. So after all of those were cut and ready to go, I went through the same kind of process. I drilled every last one of them all at one time, and then I took the time to glue all of my tubes, all the brass tubes, into them all at the same time. Worked very, very well. It speeds up the process tremendously, so it really helps. Through all of this turning, I used one tool the entire time. I used my 1/2-inch Doug Thompson skew. Each time before I started the next set of 9, I would hone that skew so it was good and sharp, and it would hold that edge throughout the 9 pins, 18 blanks. And so I really enjoyed using it. And you see the process here. I would turn them down to round, and then I would start and go in one direction, get the two ends in the same direction down to the bushing size. Then I'd turn around and go the other way. Sometimes I'd do both ends of the same blank, but not usually. Usually I did two going one direction, two going the other direction. Then I would blend the center part all together. So I'm just showing you here the turning process, turning, sanding, and finish. That was all one process for me. Does not make sense for me unless I had 9 mandrels, which I don't. If I had 9 mandrels, I might do one process at a time, do all the turning, then come back, do all the sanding, come back, do all the finishing. But I don't, and so this is the way I did it, and it works for me, and it keeps me from getting quite so bored with the process, doing just 9 at a time instead of doing all 36. Most of us get bored doing the same thing for however long it would take to do the process for 36 pins. So I split them into 9 and did it that way, and it worked out very well for me. We've finished the turning here. I'm just going to do the sanding. Sorry my hand got in the way. You'll see some of it. I get my hand out of the way so you can see a bit of it along the way. I'm also not sure what happened to the angle of our picture here. I should have been working horizontally across the screen instead of vertically up and down the screen. But that's part of using a phone for your camera and recording device. I'll bring you back here in a few minutes when we go over to the assembly table. I did want to point out here that I'm sanding starting at 150, and I'm going to 320. So 150, 240, 320, just 3 grits of paper, and I can start at 150 because I did use the skew and it came out very smooth to begin with. Now that the sanding and the sanding sealer has been applied, I'm going to denib with this gray abrasive pad. Not a lot of a grit there, just enough to knock down any nibs that may have developed as the sanding sealer was put on. Doesn't take but just a moment to do this, not a lot of pressure. Just like I said, any dust that may have gotten onto that sanding sealer in the few seconds it takes for it to dry. And then immediately I'll come back. This is a method that I have not used for a long time, sort of forgot about it, but I'm simply applying some Carnauba wax. This is not a paste wax, but a stick wax. These Carnauba sticks are very hard and brittle. This one got dropped, and when it did, it shattered into quite a number of pieces. This is one of the few large pieces I have left. I've got to order another one so that it's easier to use. I've only got like 3 of this size piece left. But anyway, still turning at about 2,400 RPMs, I believe. And that puts just a very light coat of wax onto the wood. And then it doesn't take but just a little bit of buffing. You see there the paper towel is going back and forth, and it's doing a great job. There, you can't really see it on the camera, but it's a nice high shine. We're done with this now, so we're going to come back here in just a moment at the assembly table. Here we are. As you can see, my assembly table is the top of my table saw. I've got this wood tray that my father made, and it comes in extremely handy. I've got 2 of those and use them both quite a bit, especially when I'm doing pins or any other small fiddly kind of things like that. So they keep everything kind of under control from flying around. There at the top of the screen, you see my pin press. It is clamped down to the table saw top, as the tray is. The tray is clamped down. My press is clamped down. Everything is ready to go. On these kits, these are 2-barrel kits, so typically the instructions will tell you to start with the nib end. I start with the back end. It's usually got the shortest throw on the press, and so I'll start with that one. I corrected myself from what I was doing earlier and got my arm out of the way so that you could see what I was doing, but doggone if my right arm isn't in the way as I pull the lever on the press. So hopefully I'll have an opportunity for you to see the pieces actually being pressed together here as we go along. But I started with the top end, put in the cap as well as the clip, press it in, and then I go down to the bottom barrel and I press in the nib, that pointed end of the pin. Once I do that, I press in the transmission, the mechanism that pushes the refill in and out of the pin. And once I get that in at the right depth, which is what I'm doing here, I'm test fitting the refill, making sure it's at the right length. And once it is, I can put on the center band and then press on the back end, and the pin is done. Just as quick as that. And so that's all there is to it. I've got a whole bunch more to do, so I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to get at it so I can get this order finished up. Thanks for joining me today. It's been a pleasure to have you in the shop. If you haven't already, if you would consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell, that would help me out tremendously. I think I think YouTube has been dropping a few inactive people along the way. But if you enjoy watching these and would like to see more, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. That notification will let you know just as soon as I put a new video up on the internet. And so if you do that, that'll help me tremendously. Also, to help me out, if you hit the like button, that really helps as much as anything. Just hitting the like button, it helps tremendously. Those two things. even if you don't like, if you want to hit the thumbs down button, that's okay. But if you would do me the honor of telling me what it is you didn't like, that way it'll help me. I've had some folks think that I don't pay any attention to those, but I respond to them. I respond to all comments, positive and negative, but also to those who are telling me why they didn't like the video. So if you'll do that for me, I would greatly appreciate it. As I've said before, at the end of most every video I have, until we get to meet again, I hope you're able to spin them around.